is a song playing in the background that I'm probably going to have to mute for copyright reasons, so when you see this, you're probably just going to hear a voiceover of me. But what you guys are currently looking at is a drag show that was hosted at a high school in Pennsylvania by two teachers, get this, without the parents' consent, meaning the parents had no idea this stuff was going on. So while you're at work struggling every single day because you barely make a livable wage, getting bent over by the IRS just to feed your family and to provide them luxuries like healthcare, you're paying your taxes and you're sending them to an institution for 8 hours a day where you assume that they're going to get a leg up. They're going to learn math, science, financial literacy, or even how to do their taxes, and that's not what they're learning at all. They're learning about gender and sexual identity. Now again, it's not every teacher. I'm sure most teachers are going to work every single day for a paycheck and to educate their students, but there is a growing minority of teachers that believe that your children are their children, and because they are their children, they can educate those children however they want, regardless of if it aligns with the values and the morals that you want to implement on your children. This is a message that a middle school teacher in Oklahoma had for his students about their parents.
Hey, if your parents don't love and accept you for who you are this Christmas, fuck them. I'm your parents now. I'm proud of you. Drink some water. I love you. Bye.
Translation: although I've indoctrinated you without your parents' consent, if your parents disagree with anything that I've told you, they must be homophobic or transphobic, because everybody that disagrees with what I say is homophobic or transphobic. Your parents are a part of the problem. Not only this, but they're teaching children that doctors make mistakes when trying to identify children at birth, and being trans makes you special and unique. This is what this first grade teacher had to say.
All right, so something that's really cool and unique about who I am is that I am transgender. So when babies are born, the doctor looks at them and they make a guess. And most of the time that guess is 100% correct. There are no issues whatsoever. But sometimes the doctor is wrong. The doctor makes an incorrect guess.
What parents have to understand is, due to technology, the gap between generations in terms of understanding each other is growing faster than ever before. These kids are engaging in a culture that you can't even understand. It's absolutely alien to most adults, and their sense of community is online now. You know how your sense of community as an adult was going to the candy lady store with $1 and seeing how many honey buns you could get, going to church on Sunday, or hanging out with kids around your age in the neighborhood? Well, they don't have that. Their sense of community is mostly online. The only problem is when they go on these social media sites, especially like TikTok, the only thing they see is women their mom's age twerking and adults who obviously have some sort of mental illness.
Day 8 of being a girl, and I've gotten some messages that are saying that I need to be calling myself a woman and not a girl. And I didn't even know that some women were offended by being called girls, so that's really good to know. But for me, the word girl feels great because I never got to be one growing up.
So not only are they going to school for 8 hours a day learning some of this stuff, when they come home, they're watching hours and hours and hours of content of people their parents' age reinforcing the same ideas. Kids are spending more time than ever before indulging in this stuff. Daily screen use has skyrocketed 17% from 2019 to 2021. Teenagers from age 13 to 18 are spending on average 8 hours and 39 minutes on social media a day. And this is a problem because it's starting to have real-world effects. Not only are attention spans getting shorter and shorter, but little girls are starting to develop tics and Tourette's from watching too many mentally ill TikTokers.
Teenage girls showing up at their doctor's office with these strange tics, these strange movements, jerking movements. Nobody could figure out why until now. According to a recent Wall Street Journal article, doctors say all the girls have one thing in common. They're watching TikTok videos of people with Tourette's syndrome, which
like 5, 7, 25 and others.
Teenage girls are going to the doctor complaining of tics such as jerking movements and verbal outbursts at an alarming rate, as much as 10 times more often than before the COVID-19 pandemic. And I brought up this study because there's an idea that kids can't be indoctrinated or peer pressured into becoming LGBTQ. Y'all know the argument. This is all about education. This has nothing to do with indoctrination. If you're LGBTQ, you can only be born that way. So if your kid comes out at 13 years old, it's not because he's been indoctrinated. It's not because he's been peer pressured. It's because he just couldn't trust you as a parent to come out to you. But if we have studies that suggest for a fact that kids are developing tics from watching too many mentally ill adults on TikTok, why is it seen as crazy or outlandish or homophobic or transphobic for suggesting that the same might be happening to kids watching LGBTQ content? The number of LGBTQ identifying adults is soaring. In this study, Gen Z was considered to be people born from 1997 to 2003. For Gen Z adults, a whopping 20.8% identify as LGBTQ. That's a 10% increase from 2017 to 2021, and that number is only going to go up. And if you're surprised that 1 in 5 of your children identify as LGBTQ without you even knowing, don't be surprised, because look at this official document from the Illinois State Board of Education. This document says that a teacher cannot disclose a student's gender identity without the consent of that student, meaning your child being 12 years old could be identifying as a boy or a girl or a potato, whatever it may be, and you won't even have the liberty of knowing as a parent. You think Illinois is the only state? Check out this new law in Connecticut. Connecticut law says any student can change their identity without notice from a parent. No proof, documentation, or consistency of new gender identity is required. Students sometimes change their genders from one day to the next. Students can use whichever bathroom they wish. So without you even knowing about it, your daughter can identify as a boy and go into the locker room with the entire football team. I wonder what's happening there. Now again, I have to give this disclaimer because this is what I genuinely believe. I don't believe that this is a majority. I believe that this is a growing small minority of teachers engaging in this suspicious behavior. I know some teachers personally, and for the most part, they just want to educate and do what's right for their students. But with that being said, if you create an environment where little boys are being put into dresses,
you should have called me before you made the decision to put my grandson in a dress.
Being sedated by drugs like Ritalin because they can't sit still for 8 hours a day, and then you bring in adults that are allowed to have secret sexual conversations. Don't tell mommy because she isn't gonna understand. You're creating an environment that's going to attract a certain kind of person. You just might attract people like this 4th grade teacher, but he's in a bunny costume. What harm could he possibly do to your kids? Or what about this elementary school teacher? He seems like a normal guy. He couldn't possibly do any harm. This has less to do with LGBTQ and more to do with predators using LGBTQ as a Trojan horse to gain access to your kid. And I just want to say this in closing as maybe just a message to the LGBTQ community if you guys are listening or whatever. This stuff is going to cause you to lose people, okay? You guys, you're barking, this is a place where you're going to start to lose people. When you start calling parents homophobic or transphobic for being concerned what their kids are learning behind their backs in school because they don't want you slanging propaganda to their 9-year-old, you're going to start losing people. It doesn't matter what you deem to be morally valuable or if you identify as a potato or who you sleep with. We don't care. What we do care about is what you're trying to teach our children, and if those things don't align with our moral values, stick to the math and science. How do you expect people to respect your boundaries when you want to be called a specific pronoun, but yet you're willing to disrespect other people's boundaries when they tell you what they don't want their children to be learning in school? If you want people to be willing to respect your opinion and your boundaries, then you need to be willing to respect other people's opinions and their boundaries. And I think I speak for majority of American parents when I say that school is a place for math and science, not for gender identity politics. Till next time.